Meno Warriors, welcome to my Menopause Monday, where I talk all things menopause in order to help you where you are in life and to hopefully give you some helpful tips to maybe help you sort of lift out of maybe the rut or the lack of energy or the lack of identity or just the myriad of symptoms you might be suffering right now. Excuse the funny hair stuff. I'm about to hit the mountains and the ladder in the background. I've been painting the ceiling. So today I'm going to be talking about the loss of fertility, what that actually can mean to us when we go through the menopause. I don't know about you, I felt really strange when I started to realize I was about to run out of my eggs. We all have around about 400 eggs. And when we have no eggs anymore, that's it done. And it was really, really weird. I loved being pregnant. I loved being a mum. I always wanted to be a mum. I knew that's what life had in store for me. And when I knew I was getting to the end of my fertile years, even though I was single, even though I was happily single, I was just like, oh my God, perhaps shall I go and have a test tube baby? Shall I have, shall I get inseminated by go and choose my sperm and have some more children? And it was very strange. It hit me like a brick because I love my kids. But I also love being a mum, and the thought, and I love babies. I love brand new babies. I love all kids, most of them. And it was a really strange time. It really hit me hard because I hadn't realized just how much of a strange transition it would be, knowing that I was actually no longer going to be able to physically soon carry a child. I loved being pregnant. My back was all I had to wear a corset. It was agony. My lower back, my sacroiliac joints just all go out of whack. And both pregnancies, I had to wear a corset pretty much at all times, just around sort of to hold the sacroiliac in. And it was painful. But I love being pregnant. You're carrying new life. It was amazing. And I say that with I say that with a real counter to this because I also know people who've lost their babies. So if you're watching this, my absolute heart goes out to you. My heart just splits to think of you not being able to see a pregnancy through. So I'm talking about this as though, from my own perspective, but I do appreciate that we have to be mindful of the women who've not been able to have kids or have had difficulties along the way. I think that's really important to say because when you've been lucky enough just to give birth to children, healthy children, but to really desperately want children and then not be able to successfully deliver or carry on or, even get pregnant in the first place must be really, really hard. So my heart really does go out to you if you're listening to this and this has happened to you. But on sort of the way it happened for me, and yes, I know you can adopt and you can foster. I think it's amazing to be able to do that. I also know how bloody difficult it is to adopt. I know friends who tried to adopt, and they would be perfect parents, and it's just so difficult to adopt. I have no idea. I mean, have you ever tried adopting? Please put it in the comments because it'd be absolutely fascinating to hear your story if you didn't mind sharing it. I know it's a deeply personal journey, so don't feel obliged to share it, but it would be really interesting if you've managed to adopt successfully or if you started the adoption process and then just gave up. I don't know. I just think so many of our institutions are so overly bureaucratic, and the only people that end up losing out are the children who could potentially have loving parents and the loving parents who could have children to look after. It's that's another Menopause Monday for another time. That could be a very long one. So yes, it was very strange to know that my eggs are running out and I could no longer carry or give birth to my own baby. And that did bring me on to the adoption side of things. I think adoption is amazing. There are unwanted babies out there. Just a quick story. And if you follow me for any time, you know I love going down my rabbit holes. But this one does have absolute relevance to this story. So, many, many years ago, I had a phone call from somebody who said, I'm pregnant. It's exciting. I'm pregnant. And then the day after or 2 days later, she phoned me up to say, I've decided I'm going to have a termination. And the difference between her first call was that was her own response and reaction. And the difference of the second phone call was the fact that other people had said to her, have you thought about this? Are you crazy? You're not married. I wasn't married when I had my first child. You know, but social weight and pressure had hit her hard. And so within 2 days from that huge excitement about being carrying a baby to deciding she was going to not be pregnant any longer, breaks my heart. And I was working with this amazing guy. Oh God, this man called Giles, one of the most beautiful souls out there. We were working in Portobello Road in a translation company, and he was just such a he's no longer with us, unfortunately. He was such a lovely individual. And I remember we went out for lunch one day, business kind of stuff, and he said, and I told him this story, and he goes, you've got to tell her she should not terminate this. I said, well, I don't know. It sounds like her mind's pretty made up. You know, I've got no influence over her. And he said, she will regret it. She will regret it. At some point in her life, it will come back to bite her. And this is, oh God, again, I say this so carefully with no judgment if you've had a termination at all. I think it's up to everybody's own sense of life and identity and what they want from life to make the calls that they make. But being a mum, and then this woman went on to have other kids who she loves dearly within like 2 more years. And I don't know. I bet she does think about it. And so the gift of life, the gift of being able to carry life, I just think is such a precious gift to have. The unfortunate thing is it takes no brain power to get pregnant. And there are a lot of kids out there who have a life that, poor things, just this is such a huge topic, isn't it? I'm going off track. But I think you can just understand my passion for children, my passion for bringing up children, my passion for bringing babies into this world and this crazy world that we live in, and giving them the nourishment and the the security and the unconditional love that they need. And because I feel so passionately, I can't talk. My words are all over the shop today. Passionately about this, knowing that I could no longer have my own, really hit me hard. And I did go through all the thought processes. And then the war in Ukraine hit, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I can go and adopt or foster a child that needs a home in Ukraine. And I really thought long and hard about it. And you know, just the whole concept of bringing in another baby into the family. And I have 2 children who I love dearly, who are healthy and happy and balanced, and just we get on so well together. And why, you know, what was it in me that was making me want to have another baby? And I'm still not entirely sure. I think it's just my absolute love of life and the circle of life, and the fact that having a baby is such an important part of our life. If it's important to you, it might not be important to you. I guess if you're watching this, it probably is, or maybe was. And I don't know, it's a really magical time. Yes, it's hard, and hormones are all over the shop, and it can be painful and stuff like that, but it's still, we're bringing these little miracles into the world, and it is such a special time. And I still don't really understand 100% why I felt so bereaved by not being able to have any more of my own. Probably just because I loved it so much. But the thought of bringing a newborn into our family now, yes, of course we could manage it, but it would change all of our lives on so many levels. It would change my children's lives, where we live. Well, maybe not where we live, but you know, it would change so many. It would change where we live, because my mum and stepfather would want to have close access to my child, and I think that would be important as well. And so we would no longer be in Scotland, we'd be back near Cornwall again. You know, it does have so many implications, doesn't it? It's not just my decision. And am I old enough to, am I healthy enough, you know, at the age of when I was looking at it, what, I'm 52 now, so 50. You know, if I'm lucky enough to get to 80, I'm only going to be 30 when my child might only be 30 if I had a baby then, when I might die. And I think I lost my dad when I was 31. Okay, you know, we managed it. Okay, it was awful, but I was mature enough to get through that. Okay, but I think I'd want to live, ideally be able to give my child more of my years too, especially the way I parent. We all we're so close to each other, and it's a really special bond, isn't it, that you have with your kids. So I don't know. I still don't really know. Do I feel bereft anymore? No, I don't. And it was a process that I just went through. I spent some time just quietly allowing it to come into my mind every now and again. I didn't brood on it because I didn't want to brood on it. Because I think if you brood on things, it makes you emotionally not reactive, but it sets you up for almost loading the answer to the question you're asking yourself. And I may well have gone down that process of fostering or adopting a child. I couldn't foster, actually. I'd have to keep it. It's like pets. I can't foster them. I have to have them. It's just like, no, I would love them too much. I can't give them away. So it was hard. And I know a lot of you have said to me too, you know, can you please talk about that, how that affects you when you're going through your menopause and you realize that you can't have children any longer. This is something that's been said, you know, I always ask you, what can you talk about in the future, what can I talk about in the future Menopause Monday? And a few of you, oh, sorry, the dog. A few of you said this last time around, and I thought, right, I'm actually going to embark on this now. I'm sorry, my dog. And then some women I've spoken to have also said how liberated they were, knowing that they could no longer get pregnant. You know, you don't have to have the pill or the coil or the condoms, or what was that thing? Oh, the diaphragm. You know, you don't need any of those anymore. At least you know that you're not, there's no risk of getting pregnant. And I suppose if you're in a relationship, that's very liberating. It didn't apply to me because I've been single for so long, but maybe that would have had a positive impact on me. And I think it's very important to understand that, you know, there's a lot of women out there, maybe you who are listening to this right now, who are really relieved that it takes the pressure off you from getting pregnant and not wanting any further pregnancies. There's somebody also that I know who's had quite a few children, and she's just relieved that the pressure is off her now to stop being a child making machine, because for whatever reasons she had a lot of children, and she just felt that, you know, 2 years on after one, the natural thing would be, the natural belief and acceptance in her family would be that she'd have another one. And that's exactly what she did. She kept having children until her menopause hit, and that brought grace to her, peace to her, and a real sense of relief that she no longer had to fulfill this duty that she felt very strongly to fulfill. And I can well understand that. For me, it was a sense of loss. But you know, for you, what are your thoughts on not being able to bear children any longer? Is it something that you feel like you wish you still could? Would you still rather have periods and have that option, that choice to get pregnant if you wanted to? I've got a friend who she didn't have a partner, and she knew she wanted to get pregnant, and so she went and chose sort of a few sperm that fitted it's almost like a designer baby, isn't it? But sort of fitted the bill to the child that she wanted to have. And she listed, apparently you've got, like, I don't know if they're tick boxes or quite how it works, but you can list the things that you want your potential sperm to have, you know, height and athleticism and intelligence and dark hair or light hair, various things like that. I'm pretty sure those are some of the things that she said to me, as well, among others. And so, you know, it's quite interesting. It really is. It's not just about, do you get pregnant or not? There's so many options available to us these days. It's you know, we're gone are the days when you had to be pregnant, married, and you know, do the bit and you fulfill the familial role, and all of a sudden you're pregnant and everybody celebrates because that's what you're designed to do. You're supposed to give birth to offspring, and we have so many options available to us, don't we? And I think a lot of people that I speak to, it's a bit like youth, and I spoke about this last week, the sort of loss of your identity as you get older, the loss of identity as you go through the menopause. Yes, we get more wrinkly, and it happens quite all of a sudden. Things get droopy, and that happens all of a sudden. And our energy levels can plummet, and that can happen all of a sudden. There are so many like big changes that happen. At least we don't have to have periods. I'm pleased I don't have to go through that again. But because of the way society really values youth, still Western society really values youth, I think it can compound that sense of worthlessness. And I hate to say that, because that's not what I think, but it's what I hear from a lot of women, is they feel worthless because they're getting older, everything's moving south except for their weight, which is moving upwards because of the belly fat. And it can give you a real sense of, bloody hell, is there anything left here that I can do? I'm looking for jobs. I can't get a job because I'm over 50. I can't even get pregnant these days. Everything's moving south except for the belly fat. And I think if you're, unless you're menopausal, it's very hard to understand quite how that feels, because it affects you on so many different levels. You can no longer give birth or become pregnant. Your identity is changing. Often the dynamics of your life are changing. Dynamics in relationships, becoming an empty nester, thinking, holy heck, is what it's all about? How am I going to manage? You may be coming up to retirement and thinking, how am I going to afford to live after my retirement? Do you stay where you are in the place where you're currently living? That's what if you ever want to pursue freedom on every level, freedom of where you live, freedom of what you do, freedom of who you spend the time with, please message me, because there is so much I can share with you that will make such a positive difference to your life. Just send me a DM. Either if on YouTube, it's difficult because it has to be comments and there's no way of sort of private messaging, I don't think, not that I've found yet. Otherwise, find me on like Instagram at Kate Hartley UK, or Facebook, the same, at Kate Hartley UK, and just send me a message and we can have a chat, because there are so many things that you still can do. And I honestly never thought, I feel freer and happier and healthier now than I think I've done in my whole life. Yes, I'm getting a bit wrinklier. Yes, things are moving southwards, but the important things as we go through menopause and beyond are our inner anchor, our inner compass. How do you feel in here? Do you feel strong? Do you feel like no matter what SH1T life chucks at you, you're going to survive and get through it and grow stronger? Because if you don't, please get in touch with me. There is so much that you can do to change how life looks to you. You can't control what other people are doing. You can't control other things outside of in here. But how you respond to the various things out there makes a massive, massive difference. And it is a process. I didn't wake up one day and think, whoa, great, bring on the wrinkles and bring on the saggy bits. I don't. I still look in the mirror and think, oh, holy heck, is this it? I honestly do. And, you notice your body just start, your skin gets wrinklier, it gets creppier. And no matter what, even if you do the facelift, you do the various treatments that you can do on your skin. I haven't done anything like that. The only thing I have started recently is face yoga. And I know there's a lot of ladies out there who talk about staying youthful. They all look like they've had really good facelifts. And that's fine. I've got nothing against plastic surgery. If you want to go and do stuff like that, yeah, go for it. Absolutely. I'm trying to do it naturally. And one day maybe you'll see me look, whoa, God, she looks like she got a good night's sleep. It's just because I went off and had plastic surgery. Never say never. But there are so many things going on in our lives. We're changing on so many different levels. And it can be really hard. It can be really, really tough. So just going back to the fertility thing, or the loss of fertility thing, if you're going through that process that I went through and you're really struggling to sort of identify with the fact that you no longer have that ability to have children, really sit down, just sit down some quiet, maybe even go for a walk. That's probably better. Get out into nature, because I think nature has such a grounding effect on us. Get out, go for a walk, and just have a think. And if it makes you cry and burst out and sob, just bloody burst out and sob. It's a really important thing that we no longer have the ability to do, and acknowledging that, I think, is important. If you're up on your walk and you're celebrating and dancing and shouting, whoop, whoop, I'm never going to have kids again, even better. But for those of you who feel like I did, or maybe even feel worse about it, just sit with it for a bit. Allow those emotions to filter through. They will filter through. It's like everything. Change is hard. Whether it's change for the good or change for the bad, or change that is just a change, like the menopause, it's just a change. We're lucky enough that we've got this far. Please always remember, we're lucky enough that we've got this far in our life. But if it is a problem for you, just take some time to consider why is it a problem for you? What are the specifics of that situation? Because when you know what the specifics are, it helps you then remedy it. It helps you think, okay, well, yeah, okay, well, that's interesting. I can work on that. I can read stuff. I can listen to stuff. I can go and get help. If you're really struggling, go and talk to a therapist. I'm a psychotherapist. I'm not recommending you necessarily come to me, but I'm just saying, please talk to somebody who can help you. It might be a cousin. It might be somebody else in your family. It might be a close friend who's going through the same, and just express what it is that's bothering you about no longer being able to have your own eggs. I mean, bear in mind, there's a lot of women out there who've had forced menopause upon them, you know, when they've been younger, through cancer treatment, various other treatments, and they never get that opportunity. So, you know, if you're here and you've had kids and you've been able to give birth to your children, and you've had that experience, again, I think that's something to be incredibly grateful for. Because again, like this, you know, if we've got to the menopause age, and I know some of you might be, you know, you may have had an enforced menopause upon you, so you're younger, but for the majority of us, we should be really relishing in the fact that we've got this far and being grateful for that. And yeah, still identifying why we feel bereft, that we no longer have our eggs, but looking to the future too with open eyes, looking to the future with excitement of what's out there. The future can be scary when you don't know where you're going. The future can be scary if you're unstable in your position at the moment, but that you're not going to be in that position feeling like that forever. There's so much that you can do to make your life better. So that's why I encourage you, please just send me a message. I'm not going to try and sort of get you into my fit community. I'm not going to try and wingle you into my psychotherapy office. It's just to sort of connect with you and talk with you, help you. Just, you know, that's the whole point of social media, is that we can be here to offer support and help to each other. So bear that in mind, but do think about those things that are weighing heavily on you, and be specific about that, what they are. And then when you know what they are, it gives you clarity on what you need to do to help you come to terms with it, because it's not changing it, it's just coming to terms with it, unless you decide to go down the adoption approach and with luck successfully adopt. I mean, I've spoken to people who have successfully adopted. It's been one heck of a journey, and I've spoken to even more people who've given up on the process. And the sickening thing about that is, these are families who would create the most amazing parents and give such a loving and secure home to kids, and it's the stupid process that means that for some reason it doesn't happen. And yeah, I know we have to be super careful about where children get put, obviously, you know, that's without saying. But anyway, I hope that's helped. I hope it's sort of raised a few issues. I hope it helps you sort of hone in on what it is about your loss of fertility that's bothering you, or that you might be celebrating. And I'd really appreciate you know, if you're able to, in the comments, drop below what it is that concerns you so much about it. Or at the very least, if you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Like I said, I can't talk today. And make sure, if you've not already, to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on future episodes. I really must put my proper teeth in. So have a great week, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.